side-based stories from Wayside School. It's our current read aloud, and I love it because it's just cute and funny. Anyway, it's a really cute book, and I really hope you try it out. Hey parents, check out the end where Mama Bee gives tips on Read Alouds if you're watching. It's the first book in the Little House series. It's called Little House in the Big Woods. See how much I've loved it? What a mess. Anyway, I just love it. It's kind of cute, you know, it's about this girl named Laura growing up in the big woods. I like it because, well, I just kind of like hearing about Laura's life. And they said actually a true story. Add this one to your reading list because it is way recommended. Now, kids, be sure to tap into this book. You're gonna love it.
This is the Tale of Despo. It's my favorite read aloud that we did because it's about this mouse named Despo who wanted to save a princess, and they just fell in love. And I just like it because Despo is so nice, and I just like it.
This is my favorite read aloud. It's called The Rats of Nimh. It's about this mouse whose son is sick and she's going to these rats to help her cure it. So I like this book because just Mrs. Frizzy is trying to help her son, and I just really like it.
My favorite book is Eat Pete.
Boo Boo got Eat Pete from the Dolly Parton Library, where every month until your child is 5, they will mail you a book. And Boo Boo, why do you like Eat Pete?
It makes me laugh.
It makes her laugh. The great thing about these Dolly Parton Library books are on the inside flap. It gives you ways to... Of course you can. It gives you ways to interact with your child, questions you can ask them, different language building activities, and ways to extend the story a little bit. It's a really great program, and we highly recommend it. Plus, it's always fun for kids to get mail. Okay, so my favorite book for Read Aloud is Mrs. Pickle Wiggle by Betty McDonald. And this is a really cute book. We really enjoyed it because it gave us a lot of giggles, and we're also able to refer to it a lot in our everyday life and kind of make a joke out of situations that can be tough. So Mrs. Pickle Wiggle is kind of an eccentric lady in town, and all the moms go to her when they're having behavior problems with their children, and she comes up with some kind of silly solution, and of course by the end of the chapter the issue is resolved. So, the back of the book says, everyone loves Mrs. Pickle Wiggle. She lives in an upside-down house and smells like cookies. She was even married to a pirate once. Most of all, she knows everything about children. She can cure them of any ailment. So, the book is divided into chapters. This one is called The Never Want to Go to Bedder's Cure. And sometimes around the house we'll kind of make little jokes about, oh, what would Mrs. Pickle Wiggle do about that? So I think we first listened to this book as an audio book in the car, but since then we've picked up the paperback version, I think at Goodwill. It says ages 6 to 10. That's probably the reading level because we all enjoyed listening to it. And I think it's one that we might revisit here very soon. So if you haven't read this one, I would encourage you to put it on your list. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick section here for the moms. Of course, kids, if you want to listen along, that sounds great. And you can encourage your mom to take up some of these suggestions. So I have 2 books here that I have read that I really enjoyed that I think that everyone should check out and read at some time. The first one is The Read Aloud Family by Sarah Mackenzie. This is a very popular book. She's also a homeschool mama from Washington State, and I believe she has 6 kids. And in this book, she really talks about how to implement reading aloud into your family in a realistic way. Because we all know that we're gonna do a read aloud and someone's gonna have to go to the bathroom, and an animal's gonna come in, and juice is gonna spill. But Sarah knows that, and she gives you some real tips on how to do it. She also talks about why it is important to read aloud, and I really enjoyed that as a former educator and now educating my children. In the back of the book, she has a great read aloud suggestion list. You can also find this online, and she has an awesome podcast. If you haven't checked that out, I would really encourage you to do so. The second book that I would recommend is the Read Aloud Handbook by Jim Trelease, and it's actually referenced in Sarah Mackenzie's book quite a bit. This is more the research behind why it's important to read aloud to your kids, on studies that have been done about how important reading aloud is, how it can raise test scores and raise vocabulary and all of that stuff that we know, but I found it really interesting to do and see in print. Now, he also has a great read aloud suggestion at the end. Some of them are the same books, but I like to go, whenever we're in a rut, I like to go off of these. And I also trust both of these enough that I look at the book, then I look it up on Common Sense Media before handing it to one of my kids if I don't have time to pre-read it. But I would highly suggest both of these books if you're thinking about read aloud but not quite sure what the next step is. So I'm going to give you my 5 tips on how to implement reading aloud in your family if you're kind of stuck or overwhelmed by the idea. The first thing is audiobooks, audiobooks, audiobooks. We, the girls and I, always have an audiobook going on in the van. We used to check out the books from the library, the CDs, and then I got a Bluetooth speaker for my old car. It was a plug-in, and then I could hook it up to my phone so we could listen to it over the speakers, and that was great when it worked. Sometimes the audio would cut out, and so that made it kind of hard. But since we now have a minivan with Bluetooth in it, we listen to audiobooks all the time. We always have one going on, and that helps us fly through our book list. The girls like to listen to audiobooks at nighttime. I download them onto their tablet and then hook up a speaker. So sometimes if they want to re-listen to a book that we've already read, I'll go ahead and do that. And then sometimes just around the house, it's so nice to have an audiobook. So while you're preparing dinner or while you're doing their hair, you can just turn on the audiobook and everyone can enjoy listening in. So we love to read aloud, but as busy moms, it's hard to sit down and find the time. And aside from having a child hold a book up while you braid their hair, which I have done, it's hard to do 2 things at once when one of them is a read aloud. So that is my first suggestion. Do audiobooks. Of course there's Audible, but you pay for that on Amazon. What we do is we use Overdrive or Libby from our local library, and that's a free service. And sometimes you have to wait for the books to come. They're checked out to someone else, just like it was a library, but that's okay. We just always have a few on hold or a few on our wish list, and so when they come in, we have a new book to read. So number 2 is make it fun. You need to have all the silly voices to grab your kids' attention. So if you are reading Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nimh, you better have a good little mouse voice or something like that. The kids love it when you do that, and from day to day my character voices probably change, but that makes it fun for them. We also find a way to celebrate the end of the story with some kind of celebration. So if there's a movie out, because of Winn-Dixie, we watched the movie, but we also had a party. Mr. Popper's Penguins, we watched the movie and had a fun family night with it. I mentioned because of Winn-Dixie, we had a party. We made dump punch and we had pickles, and I can't remember what else we did, but we tried to make it a fun.
We had egg salad sandwiches.
Oh, Bug's yelling from the other room. We had egg salad sandwiches. Don't forget. Tried to make it a fun celebration of us finishing the book. When we read Alice in Wonderland, of course, you can't do it without a tea party with silly hats. So, number 3, choose a book that you as the mom or parent want to read. So, a lot of times, I'm the one who wants to find out what's next. And so I'm saying, oh, we're just going to read another chapter here. Please, let's sit down. And of course, the girls get into it. Now, if we're all into it, that's great, because then we can't wait to read more. But if you choose a book that you actually want to read, it makes it a whole lot more enjoyable for you as well. So all of the books that the girls chose to share are ones that I enjoyed reading, and I wanted to find out what happened next. So my tip number 4 is to set a time. We read every night before bed. So we go through different seasons in our life. We always do the before bed time reading, where we usually read a chapter in whatever read aloud we have going on. But also sometimes we'll set aside different times during the day. So during the winter time, when it's, we have a little bit more time at home, a lot of times I'll read while the girls eat breakfast. Right now we're kind of in a game during breakfast season, but I'm sure we'll go back to the read aloud during breakfast season at some time. So set one time every day, even if it's just 5 minutes. You don't have to read a whole chapter, but set a time when you're going to read out of your read aloud every single day. That's going to be important for your kids' development. It'll keep you engaged in the story, and it's just such a great bonding family time that it's my favorite time of the day is bedtime, when we all are on the couch, my husband included. We're all cuddled up and we're reading whatever story we're currently reading. All right, number 5, keep their hands and their mouth busy. Now, bedtime reading, I don't do this. That's time to settle their bodies down. So everybody's laying down, relaxing. If they would like to look at a separate book while I read, that's totally fine. But if I'm reading aloud during the school day or during the day, I have a snack out, or I have some kind of table activity. So a lot of times we'll bring a blanket, a few snacks, we'll go sit out in our yard under a shady tree, and I'll read for a while. The food keeps them there, and then they'll get caught in the story, and it makes it kind of a fun thing. If we're inside, I'll set up a puzzle or Legos, or of course drawing, so they can draw what they're listening to at the table, and that's a great tip to keep their little hands busy. So I hope those help you out. I encourage you to read to your children. It is such a special time, and I look back on the past years of us reading. I've read since Bug was a newborn. I started reading her stories every day. So reading aloud has always been in our culture. We tried chapter books when Bug was little, and then I kind of held off onto him till Bug was 4 or 5, and then now we read, and the younger ones just follow suit. We always have a chapter book going, but those are the special times that I look back on, and my kids and I have memories of together, and we can kind of make jokes because we've experienced these books together. So I hope you are reading aloud. We would love it if you would comment on our Facebook page with your favorite read aloud, and thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching!